Chrisley appeals court vacates sentencing, going home soon. Chrisley was incorrectly sentenced for losses that she was accused of. That is the news that Chrisley Knows Best fans heard after Savannah Chrisley updated on the outcome of the oral appeal for Todd Chrisley and his wife. The news arrived on Friday, June 21. So she will be remanded back to the district court for an amendment to her sentence and possibly to her record. Chrisley will likely go home sooner rather than later. Many people believe that Todd Chrisley and his wife are innocent. Meanwhile, even those who don't like them seemed a bit taken aback at the length of the sentences. The news about the appeal court is good news. Recall, the mom of Savannah Chrisley ended up being charged with more offenses than her husband. Between them, they currently served their original sentence of a combined 19 years. Chrisley's sentence had been vacated per Channel 2. The article cited court documents as saying, Chrisley served over a year in a Kentucky facility, and according to her daughter, prison conditions are not good. At one stage, Savannah mentioned that poison snakes had access to the prison. Strip searches were also alleged to have happened. Even with 2 years shaved off her original 7-year sentence, staying behind bars for a long time seems shocking, especially as she raised minor children, Chloe and Grayson. What does it mean to vacate a sentence? According to Angus Lee Law Firm, when a court vacates a sentence, it means that a person might have been incorrectly sentenced. In Julie's case, it seems that the court sentenced her harshly, without the appeal judges being able to find the evidence to back up her sentence. Notably, a person can be retried, but it usually leads to reduced time or an expunging of the record. That doesn't necessarily mean that Savannah Chrisley's mom gets to go home this week. The appeals court referred the case back to the district court. Originally, AP reported that Todd and Julie were found guilty of conspiring to defraud the IRS and tax evasion, and Julie Chrisley was convicted of wire fraud and obstruction of justice. But it seems she will likely get home a lot sooner than previously thought. Chrisley Knows Best fans respond. You need to know that Todd Chrisley was not found innocent of anything. And for now, his sentence will remain unchanged. However, fans of the couple seem thrilled for Julie, and they praise Savannah Chrisley for fighting for her parents. Here are some of their thoughts. So thankful that they have a persistent daughter like you fighting for their release. Praise God, bring Julie and Todd home. Your parents will forever be grateful to you for fighting for them. It sounds like Julie should never have gone to prison in the first place. Thank goodness praying she gets released in the near future. This is a big win. One at a time, and they will both be home sooner rather than later. What are your thoughts about the appeals court vacating Julie Chrisley's sentence? Do you hope that she is now free to go home once the remanded hearing restructures its findings on the loss amount attributed to Julie? The weight of the courtroom seemed to press down on Julie Chrisley's shoulders as she awaited her fate. The air was thick with anticipation, reporters filling the room, their cameras and notepads ready to capture whatever drama might unfold. Julie, once the epitome of Southern charm and reality TV royalty, had long faced an uphill battle in the aftermath of her and her husband Todd's legal struggles. But today, the narrative had shifted. The appeals court had vacated her sentencing. Could this really be the turning point she'd hoped for? It was hard to believe that just a year ago, Julie had been sitting in a similar courtroom, heart-pounding as the judge handed down her prison sentence. Charges of bank fraud and tax evasion had sent shockwaves through the glamorous world of the Chrisleys, tarnishing the family's once perfect image. Julie, who had always been seen as the nurturing, sophisticated matriarch of the family, was now facing the harsh reality of a federal prison. Yet despite the media frenzy and public scrutiny, she had remained steadfast, determined to clear her name. Today's appeal was the culmination of months of tireless work by Julie's legal team. Her lawyers had meticulously dissected every element of the trial, seeking any possible errors that could lead to a reversal. And now they had succeeded. The appeals court had not only vacated her sentencing, but had also called for a retrial, citing procedural errors and the misapplication of evidence in the original proceedings. It was a monumental victory for Julie, but the question on everyone's mind was, what happens next? As the judge read aloud the court's decision, Julie's heart raced. Vacating the sentence didn't automatically mean she was free, but it was the lifeline she had been praying for. For the first time in months, a flicker of hope burned within her. The thought of going home, seeing her children again, and leaving the prison bars behind felt almost too good to be true. Still, Julie knew there were no guarantees. The retrial loomed on the horizon, and the prosecution would undoubtedly be prepared to fight harder than ever. But for now, in this moment, Julie allowed herself to savor the victory. Outside the courthouse, the media swarm buzzed with excitement. This was the headline they'd been waiting for, a new twist in the Chrisley saga. Reporters speculated on whether Julie would be released on bail while awaiting the new trial, and social media was ablaze with reactions. Supporters of the Chrisley family flooded online forums and comment sections with messages of encouragement, while skeptics voiced their doubts, convinced this was just another delay in what they believed was inevitable. Julie's children, Chase and Savannah, had been her strongest supporters throughout the entire ordeal. Both had spoken publicly about the toll their mother's imprisonment had taken on the family. Now they sat in the courtroom gallery, hands tightly clasped together as they listened to the ruling. When the decision was announced, they couldn't contain their emotions. Tears of relief streamed down Savannah's face, while Chase let out a heavy breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The possibility of their mother returning home, even if only temporarily, was enough to make this battle worth fighting. In the coming days, Julie's legal team would begin negotiations for her potential release. There was a strong possibility that she could be out on bail while awaiting the retrial, a prospect that seemed both thrilling and terrifying. The idea of freedom was enticing, but Julie had spent long months behind bars, a place where time seemed to stretch endlessly. She had learned hard lessons about the fragility of reputation and the harsh reality of being on the wrong side of the law. The retrial would bring its own set of challenges, but Julie was a fighter. She had faced public humiliation, legal turmoil, and personal doubt, yet she had remained unshaken in her belief that she would eventually be vindicated. With her husband Todd still serving his sentence, Julie had also shouldered the burden of protecting her family's name. Now, with the possibility of a new trial, she had a second chance to do just that. Of course, the road ahead wouldn't be easy. The prosecution would likely present a stronger case, armed with the knowledge of the mistakes made in the first trial. Julie's legal team would need to be meticulous in their defense, ensuring that every detail was accounted for. There was no room for error this time around. But in the quiet moments, when Julie allowed herself to dream of the future, she imagined returning to her life before the scandal, hosting family dinners, watching her grandchildren grow, and perhaps even returning to reality TV, though with a very different perspective. The Chrisleys had always been a family that thrived in the public eye, their lives an open book for millions to see. But this chapter was different. This was a story of redemption, resilience, and the fight for justice. For Julie, it wasn't just about clearing her name, it was about reclaiming her life. And now, with the appeals court's decision in her favor, she was one step closer to doing just that. As the courtroom began to clear, Julie stood and gathered herself. She exchanged a long, emotional hug with her children, knowing that this was only the beginning of a new battle. But for the first time in a long time, She felt hope, real, tangible hope, that she might just get her life back. Walking out of the courthouse, the bright flashes of cameras met her once more. But this time, Julie felt different. She wasn't walking out defeated or ashamed. She was walking out as a woman who had fought tooth and nail for her freedom, and while the fight wasn't over, she was prepared to see it through to the end. Julie Chrisley wasn't going home just yet, but she was closer than she had been in months. And that was enough for now.